Hello everyone, and welcome back to Fallout 76 for our weekly trip to the Purveyor, where we're going to spend 1,000 Scrip on 10 3-star ranged legendary weapons. We're going to see if Mama Mumbles has any love for us today, or if we're just going to have a run of bad luck. Let's find out. Remember, if you like videos like this and you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. There's always a lot more to come on the channel. Without further ado, let's jump on in and see what she's got for us today. And our first roll of the day is a Junkie's laser pistol with faster fire rate and extra perception. So let's get the negatives out of the way first. Laser weapons, laser rifles, laser pistols in Fallout 76 are not amazing. Unfortunately, the way armor penetration is calculated for energy damage, there's still something wrong there. It's better than it once was, but it's still not perfect. And that's not ideal. The other drawback to these is there's no way to suppress their sound, so you can't really sneak with a weapon like this. So you do lose out on those regular sneak bonuses that you can get with other similar weapons. With that said, we have a good set of effects here. The Junkie's effect is still one of the best effects in the game as far as damage is concerned, especially if you're looking for something that gives you a decent damage buff when you're at full health. With this effect, with just few addictions, you can get up to a 50% damage increase, which is pretty significant. Faster fire rate is always good if you put an automatic mod on the weapon. That's going to increase your DPS significantly, and perception is going to give us a little bit better VATS accuracy. One of the better ways that you might use a weapon like this is to actually not build for this specific weapon. Not being a top tier item, maybe you're not going to want to build around it, but perhaps you're already a Junkie's build. Junkie's heavy gunner, Junkie's melee, something like that. A weapon like this, with the way damage stacks in Fallout 76, could become a useful sidearm. You get the benefit of the legendary perk without worrying about the perk cards to go along with it, so that could be useful. All that said, let's see what's next. Come on, Mama Mumbles, you can do better than that. Oh, we got a fixer. Not a great fixer. Kind of a medium fixer. Almost a medium fixer. Alright, so here we've got 30% damage to mirelurks and bugs, the Exterminator's effect, exploding bullets, and 50 damage resistance while aiming. So the Exterminator's effect, my least favorite by far of the situational effects. There just aren't that many scenarios where we're going to be hunting mirelurks and bugs to make it really worth keeping around, but exploding bullets is definitely good. That's a solid damage buff for any weapon, especially on a fixer. 50 damage resistance while aiming, well, that doesn't hurt, but it's not super duper useful. We're going to be really sneaky with a weapon like this, so probably not going to take a lot of hits. There are a lot of perks that would be better here. Really, the only good one here is the exploding bullets, which is a good perk nonetheless. Of course, it's a fixer, so we get a little bit of a damage buff over the standard combat rifle. We get improved stealth, we get faster sneaking movement speed if we're not already using things that improve our movement speed. But needless to say, the fixer, definitely one of the most desirable weapons in the game. So with this one, even though it's not a great one, you could put that in your vending machine and get something good out of it. What do we got next, Mama Mumbles? Come on. Oh, wow. Okay, we've got 2 fixers in one day. This one isn't going to be dramatically better than the other one, but, depending on your perspective, maybe a little bit. We've got 10% damage to humans, so it's got the Assassin's effect. Not the most desirable effect in the game either, but a little bit of a damage buff against humans. I guess it's fine. Human NPCs as well as players if you're into PvP. But, yeah, probably not the most desirable effect. That's critical shots doing 50% more damage. That's a useful secondary effect. Explosive is cool, but maybe you're a heavy VATS user, you're built for crits, so if you are, you can really build to get a critical shot every second or third shot pretty easily, so that is not an insignificant damage boost. And again, we've got 50 DR while aiming, not super useful there again, really sneaky build, so a little extra damage resistance while it doesn't hurt isn't something you're really gonna notice. But I digress. Either way, it's a fixer. Fixers are always popular. Even if you're not going to use it, you stick it in your vending machine, you'll get a couple caps for it. So you could do worse than this, especially with the VATS critical shot perk. Alright, let's move along and see what Mama Mumbles has for us next. And it's a Suppressor's crossbow with 10% damage while aiming and extra agility. So yeah, the crossbow, not real great. It's not the worst thing in the world, but unfortunately, the DPS is a little slow. It is kind of hard to aim it manually if you want to. It's got a lot of drawbacks. It's kind of cool. I like how it works. It's fun sometimes, but probably not the kind of weapon you're going to build around. And if you are, you're not going to build around a Suppressor's crossbow. With the crossbow, you really do need a little extra damage, and Suppressors isn't giving you that. It's going to make your targets do a little less damage for 3 seconds, but they're not going to live much longer than that, even with a kind of subpar weapon like a crossbow. But it could be worse, I suppose. 10% damage while aiming. More than likely, you're going to use this weapon in VATS, so that doesn't help you all that much. The aiming on a crossbow just leaves a lot to be desired, so that's not fantastic. And extra agility, well, that'll help with VATS. You'll get a little more AP for VATS, but with the Suppressor's effect, the 10% damage while aiming effect, this is probably one nobody's going to keep around, and it's going to end up right back in the Scrip bin. Alright, next up we've got a Hunter's minigun with 10% damage while aiming and 250 damage resistance while reloading. So, another situational effect. The Hunter's effect is going to do 30% damage to animals. That does include Scorch Beasts and the Scorch Beast Queen, so it's a little more useful than some of the situational effects in the game, but not by much. You're not going to go hunting for animals a whole lot with this weapon, although, you know, hunting for deer and frogs and foxes with a minigun would be complete and total overkill. And overkill is underrated. This is a heavy weapon. You're not going to keep it around for that. So 10% damage while aiming, not a bad thing to have on a heavy weapon. You can aim down the sights there. You're probably not using it in VATS. And 250 DR while reloading. While you're going to likely be in power armor, so you're going to have diminishing returns there. Heavy guns do tend to reload a bit slower, so that effect is a little more desirable here than it is on something like a Fixer. Still and yet, with the Hunter's effect, probably not one you're going to keep around. These weapons are too heavy to keep around with lackluster effects, so we're going to move on from this one and see what's next, and I'll bet this ends up right back in the Scrip bin. Alright, next up we've got a Troubleshooter's gatling gun with 10% damage while aiming and extra agility. So the Troubleshooter's effect is yet another situational damage effect, but it's a lot more desirable than the others. With the Troubleshooter's effect, you're going to do extra damage to robots, and there's a lot of scenarios around the map where you're going to know that you're going to be fighting robots, so weapons with the Troubleshooter's effect are more useful. If you want to run a nuke silo, if you want to run AWOL armaments, if you want to run encrypted, those are all events where you're going to fight robots, so you might want to use a Troubleshooter's weapon. Whether a Gatling gun is the ideal weapon of choice there or not really comes down to the user. Some people love them, some people don't. I'm not a huge fan, but you could certainly do worse. They do pretty high damage per shot. They benefit from gunner perks. So there's reason to use a weapon like this. There's also reason not to. Our additional effects here, we get 10% damage while aiming, which is actually pretty good on this. While you can hip fire it, more than likely you will be aiming it down sights, or what's really more likely is that you'll be playing in third person and aiming it using the crosshair on the screen. So you do get that little bit of extra damage. Extra agility will give you a little more AP, so if you want to sprint a lot, or if you want to use it in VATS, then maybe that helps you do that. So not the greatest weapon in the world, but not the worst. Next up, we've got an Executioner's hunting rifle with faster fire rate and extra perception. So this one's kind of interesting. The Executioner's effect has really grown on me since One Wasteland rolled out, and I'm fairly certain that's because it's still multiplicative. It does what looks like a pretty consistent 50% more damage when your target is below 40% health, which is quite significant, and I hope they don't fix it. But needless to say, it's grown on me. This isn't the kind of effect that's going to help you a whole lot on run-of-the-mill enemies, but on bigger, tankier things, you'll definitely see a benefit. Faster fire rate's kind of interesting here. With the hunting rifle, it's not a semi-automatic weapon, so it could have some benefit. It depends if it speeds up the animation between shots when you're rocking the bolt back and forth. I don't know, so this might be one we check out at some point, just to see how that works out, to see if it really is faster. Extra perception is going to give us better VATS accuracy, so that's good. Unfortunately, it's a hunting rifle, so leaves a little bit to be desired in terms of damage. Something like a lever action or a Gauss rifle is going to perform much better. But the benefit with a hunting rifle is you can put a 50 cal receiver on it and make cheap ammo basically infinitely. Because you don't fire a ton of ammo with it, it's really easy to keep that thing fed. So there's reasons that people like the hunting rifle, and that's one of them. So again, not super amazing, but definitely an interesting item. Let's move along and see what we've got next. Next up, we've got an assassin's lever action rifle with exploding bullets and extra perception. So Mama Mumbles is really enjoying giving us good secondary effects with crappy primary effects today. That seems to be the name of the game. And that's all right, I can live with that. So again, the assassin's effect, 10% damage to humans, gives you extra damage to human NPCs as well as players. It's better than nothing, but it's not very significant. Most of those enemies are pretty squishy to begin with, and a higher damage single shot weapon like a lever action rifle. If you're playing your cards right with a weapon like this, using your stealth, going for headshots, and things like that, those enemies aren't lasting more than one shot anyway. So, not super useful on a weapon like this, but I guess it's better than nothing. Bullets exploding for area damage, that's always a good effect. It's a solid damage buff. It does some area damage as well. So if you do happen to hit things in a crowd, you can do a little extra damage to them and maybe stagger them a little bit to help keep yourself safe. And extra perception, of course, is going to help our VATS accuracy. The lever action rifle is one of my favorite weapons in the game. It always has been. I love the animation with it. I love the way it looks and feels. It works really, really well. In Fallout 76 compared to Fallout 4, they did fix the reload animation now, so it reloads more realistically. That was done early on in the game, and since then I don't really have any complaints about it. The only complaint I might have about it is that there's no armor penetrating receiver you can put on it. You have to rely solely on tank killer, which is kind of a trade-off, but still it's pretty good. And this one is really interesting. So a couple of months ago, I did a weapon spotlight video on a quad explosive pipe pistol, and we saw that thing did a pretty damn good job. This one is still quad, so we get the benefit of not needing to reload it often, but instead of explosive, we have extra VATS hit chance. Now, that one's kind of interesting. It's not as sexy as exploding bullets. All right, don't get me wrong. Everybody likes the exploding bullets, but extra VATS hit chance, especially if you've got a VATS critical build, that's pretty good too. So pairing this up in low health with unyielding armor for really good VATS accuracy to begin with, something like this allows you to target weak spots and heads really effectively, and that yields basically double damage when you hit those points. So this could be a really good weapon to use. Extra damage resistance while aiming. More than likely, we'll put a suppressor on it and be sneaky with this, so not the best effect in the world to have, not the most useful, but I guess it doesn't hurt. Now, the nice thing here is if we want to make it a rifle, we can put a rifle stock on it and use it as a commando weapon. If we want to keep it as a pistol, we can use it on a pistol build. I am running this, I am cashing in on Xbox here, so I could potentially move it to my pistol build and see how it does. Really, that's a matter of preference. Once you put your cards on, it's all going to shake out about the same. So this one's interesting. I like the quad weapons, especially on lower damage, cheaper ammunition type weapons. And I love 33% VATS hit chance. As a VATS player, I know how effective those weak points can be, and that little buff there can make a huge difference. All right, we've got one roll left. Let's see if Mama Mumbles has anything good left in the tank for us. And yeah, looks like she kind of does. Okay, so another good but not god roll here. The Mutant's effect gives us 10% damage if we're mutated. So a little bit of a damage buff, but nothing super significant. VATS critical shots doing 50% more damage. That's great if you're a VATS build. You get those VATS crits processing every second or third shot. That adds up. That's not nothing. Again, with the 50 damage resistance while aiming. Don't love that, but the big thing here, honestly, is it's a handmade. Kind of like the Fixer, it's a super desirable weapon, so even though it doesn't have the best perks on it, if you've got a good stealth commando build, you can make any handmade work to your advantage, or any Fixer. And we've got a handmade here. Popular weapons, if you're not a stealth commando build or this isn't perfect for you, stick it in your vending machine. You'll get a couple thousand caps for it easily, unless you're me, in which case you will not get that much because I won't sell it for that much, but you probably will. Needless to say, good solid roll, not amazing effects, but not bad. And ultimately, it's a handmade, so it's going to be useful for somebody even if it isn't useful for you. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to bring us to the end of today's video. I do appreciate that you all came out and watched. I really hope you enjoyed it. And remember, if you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment. I love hearing from everybody, and I do look forward to seeing you in the future. Remember, every week now, we've got a weapon video on Wednesdays, script video on Fridays. The goal is going to be some kind of lore video or story content on Sundays. Now that we've finished the Steel Dawn quest with Old Man McRib, that's done until more content comes out, so we'll try and focus on some side quests and lore and things like that on Sundays. And then generally Mondays and Tuesday nights we do live streams. Right now we're doing an evil idiot playthrough on the Outer Worlds on Monday nights and probably some Tuesdays too, which is pretty fun so far. And on Tuesday nights, once the new season starts up, we'll tackle all the challenges and do all that stuff in Fallout 76. All right, you've listened to me yap at you long enough. I appreciate you all coming around. I hope to see you next time. Till then, I'm Fisty McRib.